Ridiculously low bond amount is blamed for the Waukesha terror attack as an Illinois Democrat is forced to resign based on comments that she made about the incident. So we'll talk just a bit about more what happened in a town that's really not that far away from where I'm sitting right now. In other news, Rittenhouse gives one of his first interviews since the end of the trial, and a lot of information has gone over with that, so we'll talk just a bit about what happened there. The Arbery case has hit its closing arguments here, so we'll talk just a bit about some of the review of this. I will admit that I've not paid as much attention to this case as I did with the Rittenhouse case, but, you know, that's home, so that's what happened with that. But we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. And NBC tries to give you tips as to how to save money on Thanksgiving, including asking for cash from some of your family members, and I wish I was kidding. It is going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and boy, oh boy, has it been a week. And it's only Tuesday. I do hope that we have a slightly calmer version of the show coming up for Thursday. I really do, but, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be, and we're going to be paying attention to what happens on Wednesday for sure. And I will be streaming on Thursday as well. So, guys, keep in mind that that's going to be happening here. We're definitely going to be looking forward to that. But before we get started, guys, make sure you guys head on over, check out TurnSomePagesProductions.com. That's going to be your one-stop hub for great programs such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Breckenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, and The Porch Boys. Go and check that out. It's going to be a great time over there. We've got a lot of great creators. We are looking out for writers right now as well, and still trying to get the fundraising going up, ready to go off of that. By the poll, it looks like I am going to take the money from GoFundMe, but I'm going to be cutting that one short because I don't want them to have any more fees. But there are so many people who have done a great job and great things. I'm very thankful for that, and I'll be talking about that on Thursday on what I'm thankful for as well as we start up the new fundraiser coming up. I'll probably do that on Thursday morning. I've got to get up and do Contemporary, and then I'll also do some watch that day, but I will probably come up and do that Thursday morning. So definitely look forward to that. Definitely come back and join us for that as well. It's going to be a lot of thankful things. I don't know if I'll do calls or not, but I know I did that last year. But we'll see. We'll see what goes on with that and how that goes. So it's going to be a good time. I always love doing shows like that. So come and join us for that. And I'll probably be at my parents' house too. I'll see. I'll do some planning and see what goes on with that and where that goes. But TurnSomePagesProductions.com. Go and check that out. And no more GoFundMe. We'll have the new fundraiser up by the end of the week. All right, let's get into the finance for the morning here. The Dow had an interesting day yesterday because it leaped up, it jumped up throughout the day, starting off the futures and then jump. It stayed steady and maybe dropped a little bit midday, but the weirdest thing is it dropped off sharply at the end of the day, right back to where it started from. 0.49% above where it started. 17 points was all the raise that they had yesterday. So interesting enough, because it was approaching 36,000 again at one point throughout the midday, and then back down to 35,601. So I'm sure that'll be an interesting take as we go through Investors Business Daily today. So we'll look at that. Your Bitcoin is down to $56,283 and 50 US cents with the taxes on crypto looming. People are starting to get out of it, plus the holiday season coming up, and people starting to wonder, What's it's going to be? If it's going to be go back to work and earn a bunch of money in retail for a temporary job, or sell off some Bitcoin so you can spend more time with the family, get all those wonderful Christmas presents, get the Thanksgiving dinner and everything else off of that. This is going to be the interesting one to watch as we go into the holiday season and where it goes. So we'll definitely pay attention to that. On your industrials, your copper is up on average, steel is up on average, aluminum continues to drop on average. Your individual plays, thin wire is down, Romex wire is down, but brass shells, brass proper, bare copper wire, tubing, flashing copper, number 2 tubing, and insulated wire are all on the upswing. Your BX steel plays, that price is down. Light iron is up. Number 1 steel is up. Cast iron is up. Rotors are up. A complete car is up. Shreddable steel is up. And stainless steel is down. Looking in and seeing what the auto market is going to do, because I think that's going to be what's driving a lot of this. The copper, more for the industrial and home sales, but the steel is definitely going to be on the car market coming up. On your aluminum, siding is down. Aluminum copper fin is up. Radiators are up. Also going on to that automotive side of this. Aluminum cans are down. Sheet aluminum is down. Rims are down, surprisingly enough. On your other plays, electric motors are down. Ballasts are up. Lead is up. Car and truck batteries are up. Once again, we need that lead so we can make more batteries. All catalytic converters are on the rise once again. Compressors are up and alternators are down. Computer supplies all are going up right now. So looking in at that. From IBD for the morning. Let's get the live chat up here. Hey, cool. Sully Blue is here. We haven't seen Sully Blue for a while. All right, from IBD. Dow Jones futures fall. Stock market rally diverges as tech stocks sell off. Zoom dives despite earnings beat. From Scott Latonin. Dow Jones futures were lower early Tuesday after tech stocks sold off sharply Monday as President Biden picked Jerome Powell as Fed chairman for a second term. Tesla rallied nearly 2% on Monday while Lucid Motors and Rivian skidded. And Zoom earnings beat estimates late. On Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average moved up less than 0.1% after slashing gains. The S&P 500 turned 0.3% lower while the Nasdaq sold off 1.3% after briefly hitting a new high. Among the Dow Jones leaders, Apple rose 0.3% Monday, while Microsoft moved down 1% in today's stock market. Nike is right at the new buy point after a recent breakout attempt. EV maker Tesla gained nearly 2% on Monday. EV peer Rivian skidded over 8%, while Lucid Motors descended over 7%. Chinese EV leaders Li Auto and XPeng Motors are near buy points. Among the top stocks to buy and watch, Alphabet, Amazon, and Nucor are in new buy zones. Microsoft, Nucor, and Tesla are IBD leaderboard stocks. Amazon was featured in this week's Stocks Near Buy Zone story. Apple is an IBD swing trader stock. Ahead of the stock market open on Tuesday, the Dow Jones futures edged lower versus fair value, while S&P 500 futures also inched lower. Nasdaq 100 futures lost 0.2% versus fair value, and remember, overnight extended in pre-market action rather, not overnight, it's Scott Latonin, in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Among exchange-traded funds, the Nasdaq 100 tracker, Invesco QQQ Trust lost 1.2%, while the SPDR S&P 500 ETF dropped 0.3%. The Innovator IBD 50 tumbled nearly 5%, its biggest one-day decline since September 28th. When I see the QQQ Trust, I think of that scene in Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, where the Lady Q and Q proper were all on the bridge and then they had the baby by touching their fingers together. So, all three of them were sitting in the same ready room. Q, because they're all named Q. Early Monday, President Biden announced that he is nominating current chairman Jerome Powell for a second term. Governor Lael Brainerd will be nominated as vice chair. The announcement comes as the inflation rate has surged to a 30-year high and become a hot political issue. In response, the 10-year Treasury yield jumped above 1.62%, snapping a 3-day losing streak. Cool, Mad Cow Mark is here. All right, looking in at Yahoo Finance, showing a dismal picture of the futures right now. Stock market news, live updates, stocks mixed, NASDAQ pulls back after Biden nominates Powell for Federal Reserve Chair, from Emily McCormick. Stocks ended a choppy session, mixed on Monday as the start of the holiday shortened week, as traders considered the highly anticipated renomination of Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell to the top role at the central bank. That's not highly anticipated in this house. Highly anticipated in this house is, oh, we've made an announcement. We're shutting down the Federal Reserve. Not that this is ever going to happen, but that's highly anticipated in this house. President Biden on Monday announced that he was nominating Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell for a second term, leading to the central bank, ending weeks of speculation over who would be tapped for the role. Financial stocks jumped following the announcement. Biden was expected to select either Powell or Fed Governor Lael Brainerd as Fed Chair. Following the nomination, Powell will go before the Senate Banking Committee for approval and, if confirmed, will serve another 4-year term. I think this was largely expected by markets. Certainly there was some conversation in markets over the last couple weeks about Brainerd potentially being elevated to the Fed Chair position, but by and large the expectation was for consistency. Aaron Brown, PIMCO Managing Director and Portfolio Manager, told Yahoo Finance Live on Monday, "You may see a little bit of a rally on the back of this, with the expectation that policy is going to remain in place and intact, and everything that's been articulated already by the Fed is likely to continue into 2022 and beyond." Powell, who led the central bank through the pinko fucking pox period, would be tasked with helping further guide the Feds as it grapples with whether the economic recovery has progressed enough to warrant a deeper reduction in monetary policy support. So, there again, we're going to make it harder for people to go buy homes by raising the interest rates, but I know there's also talk right now out of the Biden admin to, hey, you know what worked? The Clinton policy, making it easier for people with bad credit to get into homes. Hey, I know. Let's do that again. So we will see what happens with that. Hey, he needs something to get himself reelected in 2024. But that's what we see off of that. All right, let's get into the big news of the day. Starting with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel today. What we know so far about the 5 victims of the Waukesha Christmas Parade. From Bill Glauber, Sophie Carson, Sarah Volpenheim, and Tally Shelbourne. Now, before we get into this, I do want to point out the fact that news was very, very quiet yesterday, especially in this avenue. But news was very quiet in general. I mean, now that we've got the finance and turns and pages, the selling of the wares off of here, we have a low number of tabs up across the top like we have not seen in quite a while. I might get done before the daily ignoramus starts because we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So under 30 outside of the finance for the first time in a very, very long time on this program. But especially surrounding this, and under any other not under any other circumstance, but under a lot of circumstances, you would have seen a lot more outcry for this. But, you know, a lot of the information came out about this, and all of a sudden, nobody wants to talk about it. But I do have a lot of stuff from local sources, which is nice, because I do need to depend more on local for this. So we'll start with the Journal-Sentinel, a division of the USA Today. Every parade has an act that draws the eye, that brings a... Oh, jeez. They're going to try and downplay this already. Every parade has an act that draws the eye, that brings a quick smile and a delighted laugh. An act like the Milwaukee Dancing Grannies, who, with their pom-poms, sense of humor, and moxie, have entertained the crowds across the area for decades. Founded in 1984, just like me, they usually perform 25 times a year, although they had to take a break in the earlier months of the pandemic. The Grannies are really a kind of tight unit, said Beth Crone, a retired member of the group. We used to call it a sisterhood. On Sunday, the women were doing what they loved best, performing, providing entertainment, and bringing joy to those gathered at the Waukesha Christmas Parade. But in an instant, when a red SUV roared down the parade route, several of the dancing grannies were tragically run down with 4 fatalities. On Monday, police released the names of those killed, including Virginia Sorensen, 79, Leanna Owen, 71, and Tamara Durand, 52, who were all parts of the Dancing Grannies, and Wilhelm Haspel, 81, who helped the group. A 5th person also died. Police later identified her as Jane Kulik, 52. Kulik worked at the Citizens Bank, which said in a statement that one of our team members who was walking with the parade float was struck and passed away as the result of her injuries. Our condolences go out to the family and friends for this inconceivable loss. The bank said in a statement, "Please lift our team and our entire community as well as we grieve." It's hard to imagine, so close to Thanksgiving, the unparalleled grief visited on families and friends of those who died. Each used their time and talent to help others in their own way. And this does look like this is a bit of a breakdown of the people who passed away. I'm not going to go through all the names off of this for family and privacy purposes, of course, because we do have a national audience off of this. But, I mean, you just... I am glad that it was more adults than children. In fact, the fatalities seemed to be all adults. Because that was the big fear that we went into this, is that they were going to go out and they were going to hit kids, the marching band, the kids parade, the cheerleader pom-pom, and we did see some of those, but for the most part they did survive, thankfully. But you don't want to see any loss of life either, especially into this, especially with people who spent so much of their time trying to bring joy, bring happiness to people in such a dismal time. You know, they had to take a break because of the pinko fucking pox. But that's what they love to do, is go out and give joy to people. But that's what we see coming off of that. And it's tragedy, definitely is. Reading in from Fox 6, Parade Tragedy, Dancing Grannies, Bank Employee among those killed. Memorials have formed in downtown Waukesha after tragedy on Sunday, November 21st, during the Waukesha Christmas Parade. The driver of an SUV plowed into the parade, killing 5 and injuring 48. On Monday night, across downtown Waukesha, memorial candles were glowing beneath holiday decorations. "I saw the police vehicles coming and I went running towards the vehicle," said Angelique Posey, a witness. "So many were there and so many were impacted. I just grabbed my kids and threw them in the wagon and was like, 'We got to go,'" said Posey. A day of holiday joy was tarnished by tragic events. Among the 5 killed was Jane Kulik, 52, a mother of 3. With 3 grandkids, she marched with the Citizens Bank. Her husband says she was one of the most wonderful women to ever walk the earth. Ginny Sorensen was part of the Milwaukee's Dancing Grannies. Leanna Owen, Tamara Durand, and Wilhelm Haspel were also killed. "To know those people is personally tough," said Orlando Lopez. Orlando and Tina Lopez paid their respects at a community vigil. "You feel helpless, but you just do everything you can, and you don't even know what that is sometimes," said Orlando Lopez. For the Posey family, candles commemorated their injured friends. "Being a mother myself, I feel a lot of sympathy and pain for the families," said Posey. "In these dark moments, Waukesha is sharing love. It's a good community and it's a safe place," said Lopez. "I know we'll bounce back, but it's a hard time." It looks like there are some GoFundMes for Memorial, obviously. I'm not going to be promoting any of those out right now because of my differences with the company, but it is also one of the most common donation companies out there, so we'll see what happens with that. From the New York Post. Illinois Dem blasted for calling Wisconsin Christmas rampage karma. From Aaron Steinbuch, and we've got a little bit more on this from The Blaze as well, including some tweets that got pushed back on it. An Illinois Democrat has been blasted for describing the deadly Christmas parade rampage in Wisconsin as karma for the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse. Mary Lemansky, who listed as the social media director for the Democratic Party in DuPage County, began her heartless online tirade by snarkily dismissing the tragedy as just self-defense. It was probably just self-defense, Lemansky wrote in a tweet that appears to have since been deleted according to Fox News. Living in Wisconsin, he probably felt threatened, another tweet, which was still online Monday morning, read, referring to the driver being held as a person of interest in the Waukesha incident, which left 5 people dead and dozens hurt. I'm sure he didn't want to hurt anybody, he came to help people, she added in her sarcasm-laden missive. What a fucking demon. What a demon, seriously. Lemansky, who also lists herself as an acting student with the famed Second City improvisational comedy group in Chicago, also wrote that the Christmas parade rampage was karma in another tweet that appears to have since been deleted. I'm sad anytime anyone dies, I just believe in karma, and this came around quick on the citizens of Wisconsin, Lemansky wrote, according to Fox News. You reap what you sow, it's sad people died, but when you open the door to vigilante justice, everyone seems threatening. She then added in a tweet saying that was still online Monday morning. Lemansky appeared to be mocking Rittenhouse's self-defense claim before the 18-year-old was acquitted Friday of charges of homicide, attempted homicide, and reckless endangerment, the deaths of Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber, and the wounding of Gage Grosskreutz on August 25, 2020. On Monday morning, Lemansky said in a tweet, I'm going to hell because I've already made a deal with the devil that no one else on earth would go to hell if I go, so you're welcome. What a... Jeez! Lemansky then posted the link to a report in The Hill about the NAACP president, Derek Johnson, calling the acquittal a warning shot that the vigilante justice is allowed. She wrote, oh look, I was right. NAACP president calls Rittenhouse verdict a warning shot that vigilante justice is allowed. Lemansky faced backlash over the comments. Seriously, how does it feel to completely flush your career down the toilet via tweet? Was it fun? One user wrote. What career? Yeah, she's and will always be. The entire country will see her tweets tomorrow and she will never recover, another said. A third user wrote, I hope you never know the pain of losing a child. I hope the parents of those lost today in Waukesha never know you. I feel sad for both you and them. Yet another one said, I don't understand how you can be this hateful and glib. I was going to pray for the families of those who were killed tonight, but I will add you into my prayers as well. I think you could use some. On November 15th, Lemansky wrote on Facebook about White Wing Group trying to prevent her from speaking at a school board meeting. She later accused the group of being fascists who won't shut down who did shut down all opposing viewpoints. What a demon! Holy fuck! What a demon! Reading on from The Blaze. Democrat disgustingly called Wisconsin Christmas rampage karma, probably just self-defense, and the internet let her have it. This is from Phil Shiver. And this is the top news of this story. A Democrat Party official in DuPage County has resigned following intense backlash to insensitive comments she made on social media about the tragic Christmas parade massacre in Waukesha, Wisconsin, that left at least 5 people dead and 40 injured. Mary Lemansky, who formerly served as the social media director for the local Democrat Party, was hammered online over the weekend for seemingly shaming victims in the incident, which involved an SUV ramming through a crowd of people, including the children and the elderly. According to Fox News, in multiple since-deleted tweets, Lemansky belittled the tragedy by using it to express her anger over the verdict, reaching, in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, at one point even calling their deaths karma for the teenager's acquittal. I'm sad anytime anyone dies, she reportedly wrote. I just believe in karma, and this came around quickly on the citizens in Wisconsin. Elsewhere, Lemansky stated it was probably just self-defense, attempting to mock Rittenhouse's claim of self-defense in the trial. Yeah, we read all these tweets. I can't do any of this again. But I want to see what some of the pushback was, and The Blaze is usually pretty good at getting screenshots of this. DuPage Democrats therefore tweets back out, We're deeply saddened by the tragedy in Waukesha. We are aware of statements made by our former member of the organization, and we find them to be incredibly insensitive and not in alignment with who we are as an organization. Our organization does not support hate in any form. Well, I've dealt with other members, not just this one, of your organization on a personal level, and I believe that statement to be false, but I know that you have to save face. I know you have to pretend right now. Lemansky, too, shared a statement she made on the DuPage County Democrats page on her own Twitter account, in which she mustered up some form of an apology. Lemansky's account has since been made private, but a screenshot of her post can be seen below. Yeah, it always seems to be that as well. It's private. Just make it private. I might have to get up for a second. It's not the allergies, but I got a runny nose again today. Folks, I firmly believe in the right to freedom of speech. I also believe that you must be willing to accept responsibility and the consequences of your actions in that free speech. I unfortunately made some remarks that were not in good taste regarding the Waukesha tragedy yesterday. I'm accepting the consequences of my free speech, so I have resigned as social media manager, and the Democrat Party of DuPage County has accepted my resignation. Mary Lemansky. In another post, Lemansky complained about people being outraged over what she characterized as just a stupid remark. Lemansky tweets, "Nobody cared about me my whole life. My mom used to leave me for hours alone at a time in my playpen. I put out music for 20 years. Nobody gave a fuck. Why do people all of a sudden care about a stupid remark? I can't believe my 15 minutes of fame for this shit." Thank you, Mary Lemansky, for that. Does your music suck? Because that could probably be a reason that nobody cares about the fact that you gave music. But you got this, as a high-profile member of the DuPage County Democrats, making a very political statement. This is evil. And it's not the first one I've seen, it's just the most high-profile one. I'm sure that there are 1,000 other ones, especially if you go over to Black Twitter. Commenters online roasted Lemansky for her incredibly insensitive remarks, the New York Post reported. Here are a few examples gathered and published by the news outlet. We read all of these ones already. A couple more here. For those that don't believe demonic possession exists, think again and have a look at Mary Lemansky, Illinois Senate candidate Bobby Pitton wrote. And she's gone, another commenter added after Lemansky's Twitter account went private. Let's pour a 40 ounce of Bug Be Gone on the decrepit remains of Mary Lemansky's Twitter account. Yeah, let's actually do that. Yeah, this was demonic. This was beyond anything. As a public figure, I can't even imagine. I have not even had thoughts this deeply bad. I have had thoughts bad about political opponents and business opponents and whatnot. But this raises to a new level. A new level. I can't even imagine saying something this bad about something. The worst that I've said is how happy I am that we lost to Bush. This is above and beyond that, even. I can't. I can't with this. Alright, let's keep going. From Channel 3000. Previous bonds were inappropriately low for suspect in Waukesha parade crash, DA says. Milwaukee County's district attorney says bail was set too low on previous charges against the man who was a suspect in the deadly incident at the Waukesha Christmas parade Sunday night. DA John Chisholm issued a statement Monday detailing previous charges against 39-year-old Darrell Brooks, including a case from earlier this month in which Brooks was charged with second-degree recklessly endangering safety, felony bail jumping, battery, obstructing an officer, and disorderly conduct. In that case, records say that Brooks ran over a woman with his car at a gas station. The victim was hospitalized in the domestic violence case. Chisholm says prosecutors requested a cash bond of $1,000 in that case, which was agreed to by the court. Brooks posted that $1,000 bail on November 11th, releasing him from custody just 10 days before the Waukesha Christmas parade incident. But Chisholm says the amount was too low considering Brooks' previous charge, including 2 other second-degree endangering safety charges last summer, and the nature of the current charge. The bail recommendation in this case is not consistent with the approach of the Milwaukee County DA's office towards the matters involving violent crime, nor was it consistent with risk assessment of the defendant prior to the setting of the bail. He says his office is conducting an internal review of how it happened. Authorities say they believe Brooks may have been speeding away from the scene of a domestic violence incident in Waukesha when he allegedly drove into the crowd of people, injuring more than 40 people and killing at least 5. No, that's actually been debunked at this point. They've gone through the records and found that that's not true. Brooks was also arrested on July 25, 2020 for allegedly shooting a family member the day before getting into a fight over a cell phone. At the time, he was charged with 2 counts of second-degree recklessly endangering safety using a dangerous weapon and possession of a firearm by a felon. When he was arrested, officers found a loaded 9mm handgun and a baggie with 3 pills that later tested presumptively positive for methamphetamine several feet away from an air mattress he was sitting on at the time. Court documents say that handgun was reportedly stolen from Greenfield. According to documents, Brooks was convicted of felony substantial battery following an incident in December of 1999. That is, well, yeah, $1,000. From the New York Post. This is an op-ed, not green check verified. Waukesha Christmas Parade horror made possible by bail reforms, from Bob McManus. What if Darrell Brooks had been shot dead by police officers while fleeing a felony in Waukesha, Wisconsin Sunday afternoon and never got near that tragic city's Christmas parade? Would the nation's cities be in flames once again? No, it's not an election year. Odds are the answer is yes, but that sad but entirely reasonable projection speaks loudly to the deranged state of law enforcement in America today. And, in particular, to the nation's bewildering inability to make that unwillingness to confront the chaos and lethal violence now plaguing its cities. Brooks was charged with 5 counts of murder on Monday as Wisconsin officials and others attempted to come to terms with the singular calamity. Officials say that Brooks, a 39-year-old career criminal, had been involved in a knife fight in Waukesha Sunday afternoon, that he bolted when police arrived, whipping his SUV through the parade route. 5 marchers died and scores were injured, several critically. Nobody knows what was going through Brooks' mind as he turned into the parade. What matters now, apart of course from Waukesha's unfolding, unfathomable human tragedy, is that Darrell E. Brooks has become the latest face of America's deranged campaign against reasonable law enforcement. That is, he's the entirely predictable product of political and social media driven effort to address crime by pretending that it doesn't exist. To present criminals, particularly black criminals, as victims, to pay no meaningful attention to actual victims who overwhelmingly are black themselves, and to hang responsibility for rampant illegality on the nation's criminal codes, on its prisons, and ultimately on its police. In a nutshell, abusive cops and mass incarceration are the problem, not violent thugs. Well, tell that to Waukesha. Sunday's multiple homicide by vehicle was a unique event for America, and its agonizing effects will resonate for a very long time. Brooks, however, is a depressingly familiar type. He had been released on nominal bail Friday after being charged November 5th with domestic abuse, resisting an officer, second-degree recklessly endangering safety, disorderly conduct, and felony bail jumping. How is that? Bail for a bail jumper, a fellow whose violent criminal history extends back to 1999 when he was 17. Well, yes. Thank the so-called decarceration movement, the effort to keep criminals on the streets because jail cells are bad for them or something. Yeah, and I don't know what he's got for bail for this. Maybe he's out on a signature at this point, just for this. Because it's overflowing. They're putting too many people in. And there's a reasonable question to have with this. And I'm going to ask this reasonable question. I'm going to step up for just a second. But there's a reasonable question to ask about this is, what would have happened if he'd have stayed in? If they'd have put the bail on a remand because he was out and being arrested for bail jumping already. He's already violated the terms of his bail once. If they had just put him on remand and kept him in, what would happen there? It's the same argument that I would have had about Rosenbaum. What would have happened if Rosenbaum had stayed in St. Luke's for one more day? All right, I'm going to step up for just a sec. I'll be right back. So professional around here. But, I mean, that's what we see off of this. So, I mean, definitely. What would have happened if they would have stayed in? If those two people would have stayed in the can for just one more day, or in this guy's case, 10 more days, would this have happened? Would he have had the opportunity to go for his domestic violence abuse once again? Which, again, there doesn't seem to be any record of that happening, but sure enough, we've got to come out here and try to make the police the bad guy off of this. He's running away from police. He thought he was going to go get locked up again. Why, so I'll give you back out on 50 fucking bucks? And I mean, there are people out there like Rashida Tlaib who want there to be no bail. Or the Minnesota Freedom Fund. That's another one that's out there too. I mean, this kind of thing pisses me off a little bit. If I got picked up tomorrow for something minor, because I don't do anything really bad, because I work too goddamn much. But I'm also an enemy of the state at this point, because I speak out against them at numerous times. Everybody say hi to Todd, my FBI agent. If it was out there and I got picked up on something, I would be in on probably a $10 million bail. Something to where they couldn't get me out for any reason whatsoever. Be sitting in an office. And once again, even if it was something remotely minor, they would pick me up and lock me up and put me in on trial, and I'd get railroaded. Luckily not by Binger. But then they want to come out and put these other people out for free, for signature, for 50 bucks, for 100 bucks, for 1,000 bucks. Or, as the Minnesota Freedom Fund is, they want Kamala Harris's organization to come out and raise the bail for these people so they get out and continue to do this kind of shit. And yet here we are. I've got one from TMJ4 out of Milwaukee as well. Hundreds gathered to vigils for Waukesha and Christmas parade victims. From Stephanie Haynes. Little more than 24 hours after the Waukesha holiday parade, hundreds of people turned out to Cutler Park in downtown Waukesha on Monday evening. Waukesha police say 5 people were killed and dozens of others were injured after a car sped through the parade on Sunday afternoon. "We're a tight community," said Madeline Cotton. "We're here for each other no matter what. My daughter is over there in a blue jacket. She's 6, and the stories I read," Caitlin Witchkers said, "it's hard because of me being a mom. I don't want that to happen to my kid." At Cutler Park, people held candles, prayed, and grieved with each other. When tragedy struck this community responded, Waukesha Police Chief Daniel Thompson said at the vigil. "I can't explain what happened or why," Cotton said, But we're able to, come together no matter what, and that's all that matters, is that love we have still for one another. At St. William's Catholic Church, hundreds filled the pews as they prayed for a priest and fellow parishioners hurt in the parade. We're kind of in the middle, where we don't want to see the healing of it just yet. The church's pastor, Father Matthew Witter, said, "We know it's coming and we embrace it, but at the same time we're kind of in that middle where we're praying just for people still in the hospital. The first thing is just to be with them," said Bishop James Schurman. Some are searching for solace in their faith and the community's resilience. Now, I'm thanking the Lord for the prayers that there's just a safe recovery so that we don't lose anybody else, Witchker said, "Just because that's what we do as a community, share the love and that support." So, that's what we see coming off this. You know who I don't see out here? Jesse Jackson. You know who else I don't see out here? President Biden. Vice President Harris. I mean, they've got those private planes and private helicopters. It would have taken a moment for them to go over to Joint Base at Andrews, get on the helicopter, and show up here for this vigil. To give consolation to the families, but, they're white families. In the middle of a white suburb of Milwaukee. They don't go down and see the plight of Milwaukee. That'd be racist for them to come out and talk to these white families. Oh my God. Jesse Jackson. The loss of life is equal among others, but some people are more equal than others. You don't see any of those hustlers out here. I didn't see an updated death toll, no. Are there more now? I don't know. We'll see what happens off of that and where that goes. Let's talk Rittenhouse, starting with the New York Post. Kyle Rittenhouse accuses Biden of malice and defamation. Kyle Rittenhouse slammed President Biden for defaming his character when the president tweeted out a video suggesting the teen is a white supremacist. "It's actual malice defaming my character for him to say something like that," Rittenhouse told Tucker Carlson during an hour-long interview that aired Monday night. Rittenhouse, who was acquitted on all charges last Friday in its highly publicized murder trial, was responding to a question from Carlson about how he felt over the president's comments. Biden, when he was a presidential candidate in September 2020, had tweeted that there's no other way to put it. The President of the United States refused to disavow white supremacists on the debate stage last night, referring to then-President Donald Trump. The post, which includes a 50-second clip, refers to a question Chris Wallace asked during a presidential debate about whether he was willing to condemn white supremacists and militia groups in the wake of unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and other American cities. There are some images of everything else that went along with that. A jury cleared Rittenhouse of charges of homicide, attempted homicide, and reckless endangerment on Friday in the deaths of Rosenbaum and Hoover and the wounding of Grosskreutz. He was 17 when he brought a semi-automatic rifle and a medical kit to Kenosha in what he said was an effort to protect businesses and as riots broke out over the police shooting of Jacob Blake, a black man who was left paralyzed from the waist down on August 23rd. And we are going to be able to watch some of this as well. I think a little bit in this one, but, I mean, I do believe this is going to be the...
Rittenhouse doesn't seem eager to talk about it, but...
10-minute clip. So we'll hold off on that one. But I've got some other clips for this as well. Rittenhouse recounts Kenosha riots, reacts to media portrayal of trial in first interview since acquittal. From Charles Kreitz. In an exclusive interview with Fox News' Tucker Carlson, Kyle Rittenhouse spoke out about the night in the Kenosha riots that led to his arrest, as well as his eventual acquittal by the jury, and the angry reaction of the mainstream media and Democrats, including President Biden. Rittenhouse, 18, who was acquitted in the shooting deaths of the two men, Huber and Rosenbaum, as well as the wounding of Gage Grosskreutz, whom he shot through the right bicep after the protester pointed a pistol at him. "No, he had his hands up and he was unarmed." Rittenhouse told Carlson that he was staying at the home of a friend during the Kenosha riots and was mystified and troubled by the lack of resources provided to the police force in trying to quell the violence after the shooting of Jacob Blake. "I'm not really sure where the police presence was because they have a hard job, but I don't really think that they got the support that they needed," he said. The governor, Evers, failed the community, and there should have been a lot more resources to help with that. Evers, a Democrat, was critiqued at the time by several observers, including then-President Trump, for that perceived inaction as the Wisconsin city was engulfed in violence. Rittenhouse recalled the first time he saw Rosenbaum, who he noted he had never met, and was taken aback by the violent nature of the man. Rosenbaum, a convicted child abuser, appeared to unsettle nearby rioters at the time, Rittenhouse said. "There was actually a second time I encountered him," he said to the group. He said, "This is the second time he threatened to kill everyone. He said, 'I'm going to fucking kill you and I'm going to cut your hearts out, you fucking N-words.'" When asked by Carlson, Rittenhouse remarked that the rioters were dissociating with him because he was spewing the N-word around and they didn't seem to want to deal with him. He then went on to recount the events that led to him shooting the three men, including Huber, who smacked him on the head with a skateboard. Rittenhouse described how after the shootings, he unsuccessfully attempted to surrender to Kenosha police officers stationed at a barricade down the street from where the incidents occurred. One officer told him to go home, which the team told Carlson was likely because he did not hear him admit to shooting the rioters. "I go back to the car source lot number 2 and tell everyone what happened. I had to do it. I was just attacked. I was dizzy. I was vomiting. I couldn't breathe," he said. I wanted to turn myself into the police in Kenosha, but I wasn't able to because they weren't accepting visitors, apparently with the barricades and the fence up, so we ended up turning myself into the Antioch Police Department. Rittenhouse said his hometown police department, just south of the state line, is the closest law enforcement agency to Kenosha besides the city's barracks. I think Zion would be closer. On that side, anyway. I think Pleasant Prairie would have been closer too, but the kid's in a panic too, so I understand where he wants to go somewhere that he knows. The now acquitted man went on to say that he's not inherently political and opportunists took advantage of him. "I agree with the BLM movement. I agree everyone has the right to protest and assemble, but I do not agree that people have the right to burn down American cities to try to spread their message," he said. "I think there are other ways around that. To go around and do that." Rittenhouse also criticized his initial counsel, high-profile attorney L. Lincoln Wood, and his co-counsel John Pierce, who said they took advantage of him and at times were incompetent. We'll be talking about that in just a bit. "I didn't know what a militia was," he said. I was like, what the heck? I'm like, no wonder people are saying I'm in a militia. It's because he painted that narrative, which he should have never gone there to, he told Carlson. The 18-year-old, however, conversely praised his eventual counsel, Mark Richards and Corey Schiarfisi. And then there's Nadler. Let's watch some of the video of this. Rittenhouse said during an interview with Fox News Monday night, this is from the Daily Wire, that his legal team is in the process of going after individuals who defamed him in the media. When Fox News host Tucker Carlson asked if he was planning on holding liars to account who smeared him, Rittenhouse responded, "I have really good lawyers who are taking care of that right now. So I'm hoping one day there will be some accountability for their actions that they did," Rittenhouse said. Let's listen.
Holding some of these liars to account. Do you plan to do that?
I have really good lawyers who are taking care of that right now. So I'm hoping one day there will be accountability for their actions that they did.
Okay, so you're intent on you're not going to let that go.
Like I said, really good lawyers are handling that.
Yeah. So during the trial, was there ever a point where you thought, despite the fact you had...
Jury found Rittenhouse. Oh, excuse me. A jury found Rittenhouse not guilty of murder on Friday afternoon for fatally shooting 2 men and injuring a third during riots last year in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The Daily Wire reported. Rittenhouse, who is now 18, lives in Antioch, a northern suburb of Chicago, about 15 miles from Kenosha. On August 25th of last year, when he was 17, Rittenhouse decided to patrol the downtown Kenosha area alongside other armed men in order to protect a car dealership from looting and vandalism. The city had devolved into rioting over the police shooting of Jacob Blake. Yeah, we know. We know the riders that you have to put on that. What else do we have? BLM disses Kyle Rittenhouse after he says he supports the movement. I don't fuck with you! From Sam Dorman. This is a Fox News heavy episode, and I hate that. BLM distanced themselves from Rittenhouse on Monday after he expressed support for the movement. The group linked to the article about Rittenhouse's interview with Fox News' Tucker Carlson. In it, Rittenhouse says, I'm not a racist person. I support the BLM movement, support the peaceful demonstrating. In response, BLM tweeted, Alexa, play I Don't Fuck With You, and a GIF with the acronym IDFWU. It was referencing the Big Sean song carrying that title. The tweets. The little racist terrorist Kyle Rittenhouse represents the exact kind of white supremacist vigilante violence that we've seen before with the acquittal of George Zimmerman in the murder of Trayvon Martin. It brought us to the streets more than 8 years ago and birthed Black Lives Matter. Today is another reminder that we're far from achieving our abolitionist future, but rest assured we will get there, we will win, end white supremacy. What are you abolishing? Slavery has been gone for 120 years. What exactly are you abolishing here, you guys? I don't get it. There's another review, but this person says he's on your side, but you have to come out and hold the racist line. Do you know anything about this? Do you know anything about this kid? Apparently not. From Mediaite. I've only ever used these people a couple times on this program. Rittenhouse goes after former attorneys Lynn Wood and John Pierce, says they raise money for their own benefit, not trying to set me free. Let's listen.
Arrested, what happens then?
Once I'm arrested, I go to Depke Juvenile Facility, and I gotta say thank you to them for their professionalism. And
the jailers,
the guards at Depke, they were the utmost professional people I've ever met.
Really?
Exactly. They were some of the most professional people I've ever met. It was amazing. Like, they treated me with respect, and they didn't like talk down to you like you've seen like in some videos. They just treated me like I was a human.
How long were you there?
I was in jail for 87 days, and this follows in with Lynn Wood, Lynn Wood was raising money on my behalf, and he held me in jail for 87 days, disrespected my wishes, put me on media interviews, which I should never have done, which he said, oh, you're going to go talk to the Washington Post, which was not a good idea. Along with John Pierce, they said I was safer in jail instead of at home with my family. And then after I'm bailed
Your own lawyer said that?
My lawyer said that, John Pierce and Lynn Wood.
87 days is a long time to be in jail.
It was very long. I lost a lot of weight in there. I since then gained it back.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. But 87 days of not being with my family, for defending myself and being taken advantage to, being used for a cause by John Pierce and Lynn Wood, trying to trying to raise money so they can take it for their own benefit, not trying to set me free.
So you think they could have raised the money for bail faster, but they didn't?
I believe sometime in September 5th, I want to say, they had over $1 million, and bail was set and able to be posted in September So they could have had me sign the waiver for extradition and had me back in Wisconsin, and I could have been bailed out by mid-September. But they wanted to keep me in jail until November 20th.
What was that like?
It was scary in jail. Like, you had to watch over yourself, and not a lot of people liked me in jail until they. The funny thing is, a lot of people didn't like me in jail, but they got to hear like my story, and they got to understand me. Like, he's actually a really decent person. I'm not this person that the media painted him out to be, and it was scary. But I was able to make friends, I'd say, acquaintance in jail, and like play spades, card games with them.
Amazing. So you're in jail for 87 days. Do you have a sense of how your case is being talked about in the outside world?
Not really when I'm in jail, but once I am bailed out, John Pierce said I was in an unorganized militia, which is just blatantly false. I didn't know what a militia was. And
Wait, your lawyer said you were in a militia?
John Pierce said that, and it's blatantly false. I didn't know what a militia was until after the fact, until November like 25th, after I was watching some of the interviews he did. I was like, I'm not in a militia. I don't know what that is.
Sorry to laugh.
And I was like, what the heck? And I'm like, no wonder people are saying I'm in a militia. It's because he painted that narrative, which he should never have gone there.
Well, yeah, it's untrue.
Exactly.
Arrested, what happens then?
Once I'm
Yeah, I mean, Linwood too. He was able to paint himself in a very, very good light, especially by taking up this case and taking up the Sandman case. He was able to paint himself, oh, well, I'm in support of these big right-wing values. But I mean, even Sandman said he was kind of a fucking scumbag, and, you know, then he went down these stupid election integrity cases, which, I mean, there's stuff there for him to go down to. He just, I think that he and Lindell, I don't trust Lindell either, by the way. And I have no intention to ever buy my pillow. But I look at some of these people, I'm like, did they actually have the intent at heart? Or were they trying to make this look like this was a crazy thing so that the Donald could get discredited again? Because isn't Lynn Wood a big fucking lefty too? Like a longtime left-wing voter? I don't think he's really blue or red or either. I think he's green, to be completely honest. Whatever's going to get me the most money. Not like Green Party green, but hey, what's going to put more money into my pocket? I think that's what Linwood is. And he looked at this and said, oh, shit, I could say that this kid is in a militia. Hey, John, go on TV and tell these people that this kid's in a militia and tell them how we're going to defend the militias and they're going to donate all kinds of money to us. So that's what we see off of that. Which is good. Because those guys kind of suck. Alright, let's talk Arbery. One of the defendants in the Arbery case sought a plea deal, according to a report. Now, there again, I haven't really paid attention to a lot of this. I haven't. I've heard about it, and I've heard about it from Katie Zed, but I've looked at some of this, and, you know, with what was happening in my hometown and the fact that I sat here all weekend in this very chair and wondered if I was going to have to jump up and go at a moment's notice down to Kenosha and evacuate family members, or go cover a riot for that matter. I sat here and wondered to myself if that was going to happen, and, well, it didn't happen, thankfully, but that was my thought, so I haven't been paying much attention to this. And I do love the fact that, yes, we still have we've got the mugshot of the McMichael guy, and the college, the high school graduation of the Saint Ahmaud Arbery. One of the 3 white men accused of running down and killing black jogger Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia asked for a plea deal, an attorney for Arbery's mom said on Friday. William Roddy Bryan's attorney tried to broker a deal before the defense rested the case in the high-profile murder on Thursday, but prosecutors rejected the offer, Lee Merritt, lawyer for Wanda Cooper Jones, told CNN. Yeah, that's a persecutor that's not doing his job. Persecutors declined to comment, and Bryant's attorney, Kevin Gao, claimed that he did not know about a potential deal when moved about it outside the courthouse, or when asked about it, rather, outside the courthouse in Glynn County on Friday, CNN said. The revelation came as Superior Court Judge Timothy Walmsley met with attorneys to discuss legal direction for the largely white jury ahead of closing arguments on Monday. Gao said that he unsuccessfully made a motion for mistrial comparing a pro-Arbery rally outside the court on Thursday. A left woke mob was affecting the right to a fair trial, Gao said. This case has been infected by the things that have nothing to do with guilt or innocence, these defendants. Gao said, "This is what a public lynching looks like in the 21st century. Oh, he said lynching! It's racist automatically! Look at him! He said lynching!" The rally, which included civil rights activists like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, didn't disrupt the actual court proceedings, the judge said as he declined the mistrial motion. Gao had previously caused controversy during the trial when he asked the judge to ban Jackson from the court. Bryant, 52, is accused of joining McMichael and his son Travis as they chased down Arbery in their Satilla Shores on February 23, 2020. Bryant shot a video showing the trio chasing 25-year-old Arbery, who they said they thought was a burglar. Travis Michael confronts Arbery with a shotgun. After Arbery briefly struggles to try to get the gun, Travis McMichael fires the shot that kills Arbery. Wow, why can't I read today? The defense has claimed the men were trying to make a citizen's arrest when the fatal shot went off in self-defense during the struggle over the weapon. So, that's what we see coming off of that. Which, I mean, it is interesting to come back and see all these high-profile BLM trials coming up, all right in a succession to one another. I gotta wonder now if there's going to be something coming up on the Rayshard Brooks case. I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure that police officer went with no charges, and the same thing with Rustin Chesky over in Kenosha. But we've got some more information off of that. "I let them dehumanize my son," Ahmaud Arbery's mother speaks up. Let's listen.
Ahmaud Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, joins us now along with her attorney, Leah Merritt. Ms. Cooper Jones, I thank you once again for being with us tonight. I've heard defense lawyers, prosecutors over the last several hours say it was just out of line what the defense attorney said about your son, the quote, long, dirty toenails. For you as a mother, it prompted you to get up and leave the courtroom. What was going through your head?
Thanks for having me as well. It was very, very disturbing. I thought it was very, very rude to talk about his long, dirty toenails and to totally neglect that my son had a huge hole in his chest where he was shot with that shotgun. She chose not to recognize that gunshot wound, but pay attention to his long toenails.
Why'd you get up and go?
I was afraid I just was afraid. I sat there for the last 2 weeks and let them dehumanize my son, who wasn't doing anything wrong the day that he chose to go for that afternoon job. And after he's deceased, they go as far as describing his toenails as being long and dirty, despite, like I said earlier, that my son had a huge hole in his chest where he was shot with that shotgun. Very disrespectful.
Why do you think they're doing that?
I think that the defense is doing that because they know they don't have the proper evidence to get a conviction. So they're actually going to any measures to get a conviction, which is not there for them.
Everybody in this case had a gun except Ahmaud Arbery.
The prosecution hammering.
Okay, that's enough out of you guys. Well, first off, the defense isn't looking for a conviction, they're looking for an acquittal. Looking in at that, The evidence is there. The evidence is there to come back out, and as far as I can tell, to get with these guys. And the difference and this is going to be the difference between self-defense and what else we see. Now, was Arbery just out for a jog? The evidence that's out there says no. But in the situation, this wouldn't even come back out as defense for these two. And I don't think that they're going to walk. I really don't. Just from the little bit that I've seen of this, I don't think that they're going to walk. I don't think that anything bad is... I don't think anything good is going to happen to them. Because they weren't the aggrieved party in this particular situation. It has nothing to... And, of course, CNN's going to come out here and say, race deconstructed, because they're going to try to make this into a racial thing. But regardless, the law is colorblind. Or it should be. And I really don't think it is anymore, especially with them trying to go so hard in the other direction. But the law should be colorblind. We should be in a situation where you don't hear about the color of somebody's skin off of this. You know whether or not somebody's the aggrieved party, whether or not that person has the right to defend himself or the right to defend the specific property that's involved. And in this case, I say no. Especially given the fact that there was the tension, as Katie Zed mentioned in the chat, between these two from long, long before. And it does seem like this was a case of, hey, I remember you from school. I hated you then. And now I got finally a reason that I can take you out. So, with that, that's what we see off of that. From the Dissociated Press. Subdivision social posts reflected the fear for Arbery's shot. From Lindsay Whitehurst and Russ Bynum. Months before Ahmaud Arbery was killed, the shooter, Travis McMichael, wrote a simple, chilling response to a Facebook post about a suspected car burglary in his Georgia neighborhood, Arm Up. The item he commented on was sandwiched between chats about lost dog and water service interruption, like in many online communities in the US based around physical neighborhoods. But in the year before Arbery's death, the post in the Facebook group for the subdivision where McMichael lived portrays a neighborhood increasingly on edge over low-level incidents, with residents swapping suspicions, keeping children inside, and becoming willing to take matters into their own hands. This is so laced with propaganda, I can't even begin to tell you how disgusting this is. At a time of broad re-examination of race, criminal justice, and the role of technology, such online neighborhood forums in the US have a troubling tendency to veer from wholesome community chit-chat to anxious hypervigilance when suspicion is the discussion topic. It causes people both to be more anxious, more on alert, or hypersensitive, but it also makes them more suspicious of someone not like them in a variety of ways, said media psychologist Pamela Rutledge. It's sort of stacking the kindling, so to speak, because people are watching for something to go wrong. Closing arguments are expected Monday in the murder trial of McMichael and two other white men charged in the slaying of Arbery, whose death became part of a broader reckoning on racial injustice in the criminal legal system. No, it got ignored by the media because most people looked at this and said, no, the McMichaels shouldn't have done this. Just based on the video that we saw, no, this isn't a case of white supremacy. This is a case of stupidity and these people should go to jail. They couldn't use this as a way to divide people. Closing arguments are expected Monday in the murder trial for McMichael and two other white men charged in the slaying of Arbery, whose death has become, we saw that one already. Father and son, Greg and Travis, grabbed guns and pursued Arbery in a pickup truck after seeing 25-year-old black man running in their neighborhood outside the Georgia port city of Brunswick in February of 2020. William Roddy Bryan, who joined the pursuit in his own truck, took cell phone video of Travis McMichael shooting Arbery as he threw punches and grabbed for the shotgun. They say that they were trying to lawfully stop burglaries in their neighborhood, and McMichael testified that he shot Arbery in self-defense. He also testified that much of what he knew about the local burglary reports came from the Facebook group for the Satilla Shores subdivision where he lived with his parents. His arm up comment came in response to the July 2019 post included in court documents in which a woman warning of car burglary said, "Remember, you can't tell a thief if a thief is lightweight or a murderer." An item from that November referenced a black man and white people recorded on back-to-back nights inside a home under construction 5 houses down from the McMichaels. Travis McMichael's response, "They really are playing with fire." All sides agree that the black man was Arbery, who was recorded on 5 different 5 different times inside the house, including just before the McMichaels began their pursuit of him, though prosecutors say there's no evidence that he committed any crimes in the neighborhood. One neighbor testified that a post about a car break-in prompted her to check her husband's truck and discover some of his tools missing. Brooke Perez said it felt like a violation. Neighbor Lindy Kofer said the people in the Facebook group swapped theories and suspicions behind who might be responsible for certain property crimes. Asked if she had ever been a victim of a crime, Kofer said, "Not for more than 30 years. Yeah, this is just laced with race-baiting rhetoric. This is laced with it. And it's the Associated Press, so they're just going to get away with it. We're the most reliable newswire in history. But they didn't get their race war out of the Rittenhouse case, so now they're going to try and do this with the Arbery one. And once again, just like Katie Zed said, this is trying to distract from the Ghislaine Maxwell trial that's going to be coming up here in the near future. Let's see, what else do we have here? From Yahoo News. In closing arguments, defense lawyers try to blame Ahmaud Arbery for his own death. From Garen Flowers. During closing arguments in the trial of 3 men charged with the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, an African-American shot in 2020 while jogging in Glynn County, Georgia, lawyers for the defendants each employed different strategies to try to show that the killing of the unarmed 25-year-old was justified. Jason Sheffield, defense attorney for Travis McMichael, focused on his client's character and how he felt during the fateful encounter with Arbery. He said, McMichael, who fired 3 shots that killed Arbery, believed him to be a burglar. You have the right to have a firearm when you make an arrest. You do have the right to stop a person and hold them and detain them. There is a risk with that. There are tragic consequences that can come from that, Sheffield argued. McMichael also feared that Arbery could have been armed as well, so his client raised his gun to defend himself to protect himself, Sheffield told the jury. Representing Gregory McMichael, 52, attorney Laura Hogue chose to portray Arbery as lacking in moral character and attempted to blame him for the encounter that took his life. She painted a picture of Arbery as a recurring intruder who repeatedly trespassed when entering an open construction site of a neighborhood home. She suggests that Arbery should have stopped when the defendants tried to detain and question him. Why? What authority did they have? They didn't own that particular plot of land. They had no authority to stop and detain him. Turning Ahmaud Arbery into a victim after the choices he made does not reflect reality of what brought Ahmaud Arbery to Satilla Shores in his khaki shorts with no socks to cover his long, dirty toenails, she said. He died because, for whatever inexplicable reason, instead of staying where he was, whatever overwhelming reason he had to avoid being captured that day and arrested by the police, she said. Yeah, this is not going to end well for a lot of people. And, I mean, Travis McMichael is trying to come out here, his lawyer's trying to come out and say, well, he acted in self-defense because he just saw the Rittenhouse trial and he wants to come back and capitalize off of that. But the difference is, Rittenhouse's case was clear self-defense. Now, there might be a self-defense aspect to McMichael, but I doubt it, because Travis McMichael and his father both pursued. Kyle Rittenhouse was using his duty to retreat. He was retreating. He legitimately didn't want to kill anybody. He was trying to run away, turn himself into police. He was trying to get the fuck out of there. Or these guys were both pursuing and then one guy sitting back filming, which I don't necessarily know why He's going on trial for murder. I think that's an overcharge for him. But for these other two, and I'm not coming in here either, by the way, and saying that this is a clear-cut first-degree murder either. Like a lot of people who are pro-Arbery, a lot of people who are outside the courthouse right now are trying to do. I would say second, third degree maybe, unintentional. They found the guy, they pursued him, but it does look from everything that I've seen that the shot was an accidental one, that they were wrestling for the gun and it went off. I would even say man one for that. Not cold-blooded murder, get up in the morning, button up the shirt, say, won't kill me, that Ahmaud Arbery. But no, as far as self-defense go, no, there is still a duty to retreat to make a self-defense claim, and they were not doing it. They pursued. That's accessory to murder, that's not murder. But that's what we see off of that. From Fox. Ahmaud Arbery case. Black armed militias gathered outside the courthouse issue warning. The new Black Panthers, BLM 757, and Judah Armed Forces organized the march featuring a dummy corpse inside a coffin. From Rebecca Rosenberg. Black armed militias rallied outside Georgia courthouse on Monday, where 3 white men are on trial for the fatal shooting of a 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, an unarmed black man, and the new Black Panther leader issued a warning. Black Lives Matter 757 says, "We've arrived in Brunswick. All eyes on Ahmaud Arbery." "Y'all are in serious trouble because the wrath of karma is coming to America," said a man who identified himself as the supreme commander of the new Black Panther militia. "We're not taking it no more." As persecutors and defense lawyers delivered their closing statements, dozens of members of BLM 757, Lion of Judah, Armed Forces, and the new Black Panther Party marched outside the Glynn County Courthouse. The SPLC has called the new Black Panther Party a virulently racist and anti-Semitic organization whose leaders have encouraged the violence against whites, Jews, and law enforcement. Really? The SPLC? I thought that they would give those people a medal. Let's watch. Travis McMichael, his father Greg, and William Roddy Bryan are on trial for murder, aggravated assault, and false imprisonment for the slaying of Arbery in Satilla Shores outside Brunswick, Georgia. The activists carried new Black Panther flags and wheeled a coffin with a dummy corpse on it, which was written countless names of blacks who were killed at the hands of whites, including Floyd and Breonna Taylor, an Instagram video shows. "We're standing in solidarity with the family of Ahmaud Arbery, and for all those black lives that have been lost," said one of the rally's organizers, BLM 757 President Japari Jones. "The message is we won't tolerate blacks and browns being murdered anymore, and we will pull up anywhere in the nation," he told Fox News. He said the groups have shared a goal of self-defense for black people. "Our long-term plan is to arm the entire community with responsible gun ownership," he said. "We will be holding classes in the future. We'll be setting up workshops in all 50 states. Okay, that's cool. I don't think that's as terroristic as you think that it is unless you go on the offensive. And do remember, if you're self-defending, just like I said, if you're defending yourself, then you do have a duty to retreat. Which means you have to exhaust all other options before you go kill somebody. Somehow, given the track record of the Black Panthers, I don't necessarily believe that they're going to be exercising that duty if they go back and arm up. But that's for the courts to decide later on, down the road. But that's what we see off of that. And I look at some of this, and I wonder, how can this even be a fair trial? Now, clear cut on the evidence. It does look like the McMichaels are going away for a while, and so is the other guy, Roddy Bryan, I'm sorry. Roddy Bryan. It looks like they're going up for a while without having this undue influence on the jury. If the jury is actually going to be as impartial as they say that they're going to be, it definitely looks like this is going to be the right outcome off of this, just based on the evidence that's been brought forward. But that doesn't matter. These people are still going to come out and march. They're going to come out and make sure that the right verdict comes out. But that's what we see off of that. All right, let's shift gears here. Let's talk about some policy stuff. From Axios to start. Axios on HBO. Swan challenges Leibt on emptying federal prisons. No author given. On Axios on HBO, Jonathan Swan challenged Rep. Rashida Tlaib on the sweep of a plan for closing federal prisons that she has endorsed and is supported by some criminal justice activists. Everyone's like, oh my God, we're just going to release everybody? That's not, Tlaib said. No, she's going to leave the white people in. But she needs to free up space so she can put more white people in. Swan interjected that the Breathe Act actually says release everyone from federal prisons over 10 years. While in prison, reform is a mainstream position with the Democrat Party. Federal prison abolition, which Tlaib has advocated, is not. These law and order issues have come to the center of political contests throughout the country as crime rates have risen. Swan asked to what extent Tlaib has wrestled with the potential downsides to the reforms she backs, namely that the federal prison population contains dangerous criminals. Tlaib: but did you see how many people are mentally ill that are in prison right now? Swan: but they're like human traffickers. Tlaib: oh, I know. Look who's in prison now. Folks that are mentally ill and have substance abuse problems, and obviously there's a process for looking at how we can get away from mass incarceration and move towards care first. I'm going to use this video from here because it's a little bit shorter, but yeah, let's watch and see what they have to say.
In 2020, you endorsed the Breathe Act, which is a series of proposals to transform America's criminal justice system and create, quote, a roadmap for prison abolition. The Breathe Act proposes emptying federal detention facilities within 10 years. To what extent have you wrestled with any potential downsides of releasing into society every single person who's currently in a federal prison?
Yeah, I think that everyone's like, oh my God, we're going to just release everybody. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, but did you see how many people are mentally ill that are in prison right now?
No, I know, but the act that you endorsed actually says release everyone in 10 years. But in 10 years,
but think about it, who are releasing?
But there are like human traffickers,
I know.
Child sex. So, but you're saying, do you mean that you don't actually support that? Because you endorsed the bill.
No, I endorsed the Breathe Act and looking at the policies and how we incarcerate, absolutely.
But it says in there.
But you cannot just blankly say, oh, look, she wants, that's not what I'm saying.
But that's like in plain text, isn't
But
it?
what I'm saying is look at who's in prison now. No, look at the folks that are mentally ill, that have substance abuse problems.
But I'm not disagreeing with you that there are people who
but
should
then
be in
why aren't
prison.
you asking me about them? You're asking me about the human traffickers and others that should
I'm trying to understand.
Be able to be
What I'm trying to understand is
accountable.
your proposal is so sweeping. It does release everyone. And what I'm trying to say to you is
within 10 years, and obviously there's a process of looking at how can we get away from mass incarceration and move towards care first.
But what I'm trying to understand, because it is such a sweeping, concrete proposal, do you believe that there are still categories of people who should be behind bars?
There are absolutely folks that I don't I don't know, because right now the way the prison system is supposed to be like rehabilitatory, it's supposed to be rehabilitation, right?
Right.
No, really, that's how I
understand.
Yeah. I don't think there's any rehabilitation happening right now for those that might actually have, and again, a majority, there's so many that have mental health issues, other struggling issues. Do
you think all people can be rehabilitated?
I don't think so. I've been very clear about that.
Okay.
And I only tell you that because, as somebody that has worked in the legal field and others, I don't even know if our society would even know how to be able to rehabilitate every single person.
All right, that's enough out of her. Looking in at this, now, there is way too much incarceration in this country. There is way too much. And at some points, we do need to come. First off, we need to open the asylums back up, because Rashida is correct on this, that there are too many people that are in for mental illness that would have been committed to an asylum so many years ago, and instead they do something criminal. They wind up in Gen Pop, where sometimes they'll file a toothbrush down into a knife and kill another inmate. So there is that. And yes, there is the other aspect of it, that the state is using these prisons as a profit farm. They're doing these private prisons for profit prisons. That's also something that needs to come out here, because they make their money off how many people they can keep incarcerated for how long. If there's nobody incarcerated, then they're not making money. So there is a big problem with that. Unfortunately, as Swan is correct in saying, no, the Breathe Act, which is mostly a show of bravado to try and win votes and is not actually going to go anywhere because there are too many of these Democrats and Republicans who are making money off the prison complex. But I didn't say that out loud. It does say that in the Breathe Act, that they're going to empty out the prisons in 10 years. Within 10 years, they're going to get everybody out of prison and just shut all the prisons down. So yes, he is absolutely right to press back on her for this. Now she's got to come back and backpedal, because she knows that in Soccer Mom America, which they're trying to hold on to desperately, this is not going to play well. It's the same thing that I say about the more extreme libertarian ideas that are out there. Yes, they're good, and they're proper, and I can live my life by those ideals. But Soccer Mom America can't. Just like this will not play well to Soccer Mom America. It won't. From The Verge. Google seeks recusal probe for incoming antitrust chief over Yelp and Microsoft cases. Now, I got to push back on this, actually, before we get into this, because Arvolt calls me out too much incarceration looking at Waukesha Wright. No, that's a person who should have been incarcerated that was let out because they say that the prisons and the jails are overcrowded because there's too much incarceration. They let him out on a reduced bail because it's overcrowded. We don't know where to put all the people, because some of these people should be in a mental hospital, in the insane asylum, rather than in prison. And of course the minor drug charges too. Possession and smoking a joint, which there are too many people in jail for. So no, there is way too much incarceration, because they can turn away people like Darrell Brooks, who actually did need to be in fucking prison. All right. From The Verge. Google seeks recusal probe for incoming antitrust chief over Yelp and Microsoft cases. From Jay Peters. Google sent a letter to the Department of Justice Friday requesting that the department examine whether newly confirmed antitrust division head John Cantor, who has been a vocal critic of the search giant, should be recused from a federal antitrust investigations into Google. In his new role, Cantor will lead the department's lawsuit against Google, alleging it has a monopoly in the search and advertising markets. Cantor has represented a number of companies in motions against Google, which the search giant argues should disqualify him. Most notably, Cantor represented Microsoft in a motion arguing against Google's acquisition of DoubleClick, which was eventually approved by regulators and was closed in 2008. Mr. Cantor's past statements and work representing competitors who have advocated for the cases brought by the department raised several concerns about his ability to be impartial, a Google spokesperson said in a statement to The Verge. You can read Google's full letter to the DOJ at the bottom of this article. Cantor is the latest in a string of prominent antitrust appointments from the Biden administration, which includes Lina Khan's confirmation as the chair of the Federal Trade Commission and Tim Wu's role working on technology and competition policy in the National Economic Council. Notably, Amazon and Facebook sought to force Linda Khan to recuse herself from their cases on similar grounds, although so far the efforts have had little result. And I've got this 5-page letter. I will put this article in the Discord so you guys can go check out the letter off of this. It's 5 pages, so we're not going to go through all this, but I mean, I can see the point. I can see where Google's coming from this if you look at this from a purely generic standpoint of it. But unfortunately, I don't trust Google and Sundar Pichai or Susan Wojcicki or Tim Cook over at Apple to not use the opportunity to go appoint somebody who would be friendly to their favor, to their cause, to try to lobby congresspeople and the presidency with laying down $100 bills, to put somebody into that situation and will just look the other way either. So yes, on paper, this is all right. On paper, I can see where you're going from with this. I just know that that's the thing that you're going to try and put in here in this place. From NBC, January 6th committee subpoenas Alex Jones, Roger Stone, and other Trump allies. From Dartanoro Clark and Haley Talbot, House Committee investigating the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol issued subpoenas Monday to high-profile allies of former President Trump, including Roger Stone and Alex Jones. The committee is looking at Stone, a longtime advisor to Trump, and Jones, a conspiracy theorist who claimed that the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre in Connecticut in 2012 was a giant hoax in connection with a rally near the Capitol shortly before a pro-Trump mob stormed the building in early January. The committee is demanding records and testimony from 3 other people as well: Dustin Stockton, who the committee said assisted in organizing a series of rallies after the November election, Jennifer Lawrence, who was also involved in organizing the rallies. Isn't that the chick from the Hunger Games? Probably a different Jennifer Lawrence. Who was, and Taylor Budowich, who organized the advertising campaign to encourage attendance at the January 6th rally, the panel said. So Taylor Budowich is an FBI agent? Is that what this is? We need to know who organized, planned, paid for, and received funds related to these events, as well as what communications organizers had with officials in the White House and Congress, the committee's chair, Rep. Benny Thompson of Mississippi, said in a statement on Monday. We believe the witnesses we're subpoenaed today have relevant information, and we expect them to cooperate fully with our efforts to get answers for the American people about the violence of January 6th. Oh, you mean where the police officer shot the woman who was unarmed? Is that the violence that we need the answer to? No, we acquitted that person. The committee said Monday that Stone was in Washington on January 5th and 6th to lead a march to the Capitol, and that he promoted his attendance at the rallies and solicited support to pay for security. Do they not know? I have a question about this. Do they not know that the FBI was involved in this, or are they just trying to point the fingers to point to everybody else so that they don't have to implicate the FBI off of this? Because I'm going to wonder, I do have to wonder if they're going to dig deep and find out that this Glowy sitting out here, who lives on a big farm in Arizona now, if he was one of, I don't know. But they're going to keep going on this forever, I guess. From Fox Business, GOP governors team up to get America's supply chains moving. That's the problem, and if you are... Shut up. GOP governors team up to get America's supply chain moving again. From Paul Steinhauser and Houston Keene. A group of Republican governors is blaming President Biden as it spotlights that the American supply chain is in crisis and is vowing to work to restore the free and fast flow of commerce. The 15 governors, in an effort spearheaded by Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee, pledged in a letter that was shared first with Fox News on Monday to take action to address workforce shortages and prevent bottlenecks, logjams, and other transportation issues. Slowdowns in manufacturing and transportation woes over this year due to COVID-19 outbreaks amid the worst pandemic to strike the world in a century have caused severe global supply chain breakdowns. And while the problems are beginning to recede, manufacturing, shipping, and retail executives do not predict a return to normalcy until next year at the earliest. Well, next year is like 45 days away, not even. The supply chain crisis has helped fuel a spike this summer and autumn in consumer prices across the nation. Excuse me. The Republican governors signing the letter highlighted that from coastal ports to inland ports to road and rail, our states can take the action to address workforce shortages and prevent bottlenecks, logjams, and other transportation issues. Yeah, it's too bad that all the Great Lakes are surrounded by Democrat governors. Tony Evers, Tim Walz, J.B. Pritzker, Gretchen Whitlas. I mean, yes, we have Indiana, of course, but that's a Republican state, well, Republican name only state. In Ohio, Mike DeWine. But then Pennsylvania too, because yeah, the Great Lakes have a ton of ports. The Great Lakes have a ton of ports. And the St. Lawrence Seaway apparently is very easily navigable if you want to get into Lake Michigan and start pulling stuff in off of those ports. Hell, they could actually make the harbor in Kenosha functional again. No, let's not get fucking crazy here. That might make sense. The governor signing the letter highlighted that from coastal ports to road and rail, our states can take action to address the workforce shortage and prevent bottlenecks, logjams, and other transportation issues. In addition to Lee, the governor signing the letter are Greg Abbott, Ron DeSantis, Mike DeWine, Doug Ducey, Greg Gianforte, Larry Hogan, Brian Kemp, Brad Little of Idaho, Henry McMaster of South Carolina, Mike Parson of Missouri, Kim Reynolds of Iowa, Pete Ricketts, Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma, and Doug Burgum of North Dakota, which a lot of these people have been on big news, but a couple of them I had to specify their states because most of the audience didn't know anything about them. But yeah, coming out here doing everything they can. And the federal government's going to push back. These extended requirements to get a CDL are going to be a big thing for some of these people. And there are all the containers stacked up too, out on the roads. The governors in their letter said they commit to using our authority where allowable to modify the weight, size, of load restrictions to allow more cargo to move more efficiently, adjust hours of service constraints to provide truck drivers with more time and flexibility, deregulate education and occupational licensure barriers to get more commercial truck drivers on the road. As the FMCSA, I had my letters backward, is trying to make it harder to get more truckers on the road. And you would think for a second that the DOT is going to let you go over 80,000 pounds, you're out of your fucking mind. The federal government is fully committed to this, and they're going to do whatever they can. They might get the FBI or the National Guard involved into this. From CNN, Biden to nominate Jerome Powell as Federal Reserve Chairman. From Caitlin Collins, Kate Sullivan, Betsy Klein, and Matt Egan. Spend just a moment on this because we talked about this extensively in the finance aspect. President Biden on Monday formally announced his intent to nominate Jerome Powell to serve as the chairman of the Federal Reserve for a second term and nominate Lael Brainerd to serve as the Fed's vice chair. Powell's 4-year term is up in February, and the president faced a key decision on whether to keep Powell, who was put on the job by a Republican in the government's most important economic policy job. At a time when rising consumer prices, inflation, and shortages caused by the supply chain crisis are urgent concerns of the White House, there's been a heightened focus on who the president was going to pick to lead the nation's central banking system. The White House cited Powell's steady leadership amid the economic turbulence of the pandemic as a reason for the decision. The Powell-led Fed took a series of unprecedented steps in March and April to help ensure that COVID recession did not morph into a full-blown depression. By what? Inflating the currency beyond fucking belief? But they think this is a good idea, so there we go. From Fox News. Republicans warned that ATF taking a giant leap towards federal firearm registry. From Houston Keene. A group of House Republicans is warning that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives could be laying the groundwork for a backdoor federal gun registry. Michael Cloud of Texas led 51 of his colleagues in a letter to acting ATF Director Marvin Richardson on Monday, expressing their concern over a proposed rule by the agency that Republicans fear could eventually lead to a backdoor gun registry around Congress's prohibition. The recently proposed rule essentially removes the 20-year burn date that the federal firearms licensees must abide by, requiring them to preserve firearm purchase records older than 2 decades. While the preservation of records may not seem like a big deal, the federal licensees are required to submit their records to the ATF upon closing up shop, meaning every American gun owner's record would eventually end up in the ATF's hands. The Biden admin is yet again ignoring real threats against America and instead using political leverage to encroach over the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens, Cloud told Fox News in a statement. This proposed rule would be a giant leap towards a federal firearm registry, which is explicitly banned by law. The Texas Republican continued, requiring federal firearm licensees to preserve records older than 20 years will enable the Biden admin to collect more information on law-abiding gun owners, all with the purpose of eventually having a registry of every gun owner in the United States. Well, that is their wet dream, and they're going to find any way to do it possible, any way that they can get around to do it. You know, it comes like, oh, well, you have to have insurance if you have a gun. Well, how are you going to know? Because there's no registry. But they want to know whose hands every one of these people, every one of these firearms are in. For totally non-political reasons whatsoever. From The Blaze. Ditch turkey for Thanksgiving. Ask guests for cash. $5, $10, which really adds up to fight inflation's high costs, NBC suggests. If the recent spike in prices brought about by President Biden's inflationary economy has left a bad taste in your mouth, that could be nothing compared to the rather unappetizing suggestions to save money this Thanksgiving, courtesy of NBC's Today. With inflation on the rise, prices are going up on everything from your Thanksgiving meal to your gifts for the holidays, anchor Kristen Welker noted as an introduction Saturday, according to Fox News. So began the segment on what American families can do to save a few dollars to get through Turkey Day. Let's listen.
Etiquette experts are a little mixed on this.
So this is actually from Today. From the Today Show. From NBC. Let's have a listen to what they have to say. Here's how you save money on your Thanksgiving. You know, rather than just getting the government policy out of the way and letting the market decide for itself.
Experts are a little mixed on this, but you could ask everybody to just throw in cash, $5, $10. That really adds up. And while we are on the topic of something that could be controversial, perhaps forego the turkey. Bear with me. Ooh. I know that is the staple of the Thanksgiving meal. However, some people think turkey is overrated, and so it tends to be the most expensive thing on the table. Maybe you do an Italian feast instead. And I will say this, if you tell everyone you're having a Thanksgiving without turkey, some guests may drop off the list, and that's a way to cut costs too.
Turkey
oh!
dogs,
Recommending it, I'm just
Keep the
offering
pie. Keep the
Oh! 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 What? I'm speechless off of this. I really am. Now, and we've gone to different lengths to cut costs on turkey. When, not my ex-fiance, my most previous ex-girlfriend, but the one before, when her and I were first dating, we both had to work on the Friday after Thanksgiving, so we couldn't really travel for anything on that. So we stayed in on that Thursday and just had a little Thanksgiving dinner for ourselves in her apartment. And all we did, because it was just the two of us, is went out and got a turkey breast and braised it. But that was because of the retail side of everything else. And, I mean, the fact that we were both working jobs where we were required to be there on Black Friday. Not necessarily because of a cost cut or anything else like that. But this is just, ugh! This is disgusting. This is the mainstream media coming out and telling you that, ugh. Gross, 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 gross. That's one of the reasons I do want to get into a home this coming year, is because I love to cook, and my sister has stolen the thunder on every Thanksgiving since she decided that she was going to have kids. We'll leave it at that. But she's stolen the thunder from every Thanksgiving and every other big holiday meal off of that there. I love to cook. I want to host one of these things here, but I mean, there again, I live in a little 600 square foot place right now. I can't exactly bring the entire family in here either. But just, ugh. If you're telling people to ask their guests for cash, that means that the policies have failed. Disgusting. All right. And the last one, a little bit of white pill before we do Twitter trending and get out of here for the day. From the Associated Press. I can't believe I'm about to say, here's a little bit of a white pill from the Associated Press. Target to keep stores closed on Thanksgiving for good. You know, before I read this article, I want to say, Target made a promise during the BLM riots, during the St. George riots, that they would buy 40% of their merchandise from black-owned companies. And I said, that's cool. I don't need to shop at Target anymore. Because you're showing your politics, you're showing the fact that you're showing your colors off of this in more ways than one. And I don't need to see your politics. It's the same reason. Like, I don't go to Burger King. I don't go to certain other stores. Like, I don't go to Walmart because they showed their politics. They got in the soapbox and showed their politics. I can justify Chick-fil-A because they didn't show their politics. Somebody else had to go digging for it. As the reason that it's out there. But Target is getting fucking based as shit, and it makes me want to go spend money there again. I'm in a weird position right now. It does make me want to go into a Target store and spend money. Target to keep stores closed on Thanksgiving for good. This is from Ann De Innocenzio. Target will no longer open its stores on Thanksgiving Day, making permanent a shift to the unofficial start of the holiday season that was suspended during the pandemic. To limit crowds in stores, retailers last year were forced to turn what had become a weekend shopping blitz into an extended event with big holiday discounts beginning as early as October. That forced shift appears to have been fortuitous. U.S. holiday sales last November-December rose 8.2% in 2020 from the previous year, according to the National Retail Federation, the nation's largest retail trade group. The group predicts 2021 could shatter that record, growing between 8.5% and 10.5%. Americans able to get the same offers over a broader time span, relieved from some of the stresses that go hand in hand with the holidays, appear to embrace the change, which has also resonated with workers, Target said. What started as a temporary measure driven by the pandemic is now our new standard, one that recognizes that our ability to deliver our guests' holiday wishes, both within and well beyond our store hours, Target CEO Brian Cornell wrote in a note to employees. You don't have to wonder whether this is the last Thanksgiving you'll spend with your family and friends for a while, because Thanksgiving store hours are one thing we won't go back to when the pandemic finally subsides. So what's that going to be in 2050 or whatever the fuck? Target is the first major retailer to make such a permanent move during the pandemic, and its decision could push other retailers to follow its path, said Ken Perkins, president of Retail Metrics, a retail research firm. He believes retailers are also looking at whether it's worth spending money on labor and other costs to open on Thanksgiving, when shoppers are turning more to online shopping and away from physical stores. With all these online shopping opportunities, it's really necessary to open on Thanksgiving, Perkins said. Macy's, which will not open stores on Thanksgiving for a second year in a row, said that its curbside pickup services will be available at select locations. It has also noted that it hasn't announced future plans, but we lean into what our customers, as well as colleagues, tell us is important to them on these decisions. Kohl's and Walmart will also be closed on Thursday, but Walmart said it hasn't made a decision yet on the future of Thanksgiving Day store shopping. Kohl's declined to comment. So good. And that was the thing, is we were getting into a little bit of what I would call a problematic situation as more and more stores started their Black Friday earlier and earlier into Thursday. I mean, we were getting to points where some of the Black Friday sales did come up to when Thanksgiving dinner was, and it's pushed Thanksgiving dinners earlier in the day. Like, my sister's celebration on this coming Thursday is going to be at noon. But now we're finally seeing a pushback and saying, no, we will not open on Thanksgiving. We have no reason to. Fuck that. Go spend time with your families. And that's good. And if you do need something last minute, I mean, the retail, like the actual grocery stores, I know are staying open until like 2. The ones around here anyway. The Pig, I don't know, I've never gone there on Thanksgiving, but I know the Pig down the road from me is open until noon that day. Just in case, you reach open, you find your can of pumpkin filling and find out that it's spoiled or something else like that. And you're going to wreck everything if you don't have it. But that's good. That's amazing. Awesome for that. All right, let's do Twitter trending and head out of here for the day. On Tuesday, we do the top 5 Twitter trends of the day and see where our world is going from week to week. Alright, and we will skip the Tuesday vibes, of course. So, starting here, number 2, Larry, singer Summer Walker, shares her new Larry face tattoo on Instagram. More than 20 people are sickened by sewage-tainted oysters after Maryland failed to warn the public of public contamination. And in Gemma posts, I don't know anything about this Larry tattoo, but we see everything else other than Larry. Larry Carroll, aka the Twilight Guy, is forever iconic. Tell me why Summer Walker dropped that album just to tattoo fucking Larry on her face. Are we going to see the tattoo? Larry is such an ugly-ass name, too. Lord, please wrap your arms around that girl. I disavow that. I know a lot of people named Larry. Okay, there it is. Summer and Larry. Apparently, this is a big deal. I don't know who these people are either. But that shouldn't surprise anybody. I know we skipped the Tuesday motivations and Tuesday vibes, but we'll do Giving Tuesday, as that's seasonal. Hashtag Giving Tuesday is coming. Make sure that if you guys have the extra cash or extra supplies or anything else extra, that you give to charity today, because it is Giving Tuesday, and that's always a great thing to do. I've unfortunately drawn myself thinner than I need to, so I may or may not be able to do so, but I know that I do have some things that could easily help out in a food bank, so it looks like I'll be going through the cabinet and seeing what I can do. That's your Giving Tuesday. OPEC. OPEC is trending with Keystone. That'll be good. New, the U.S. has asked China, India, Japan, and South Korea to join a coordinated effort to release crude oil reserves. Announcement could come tomorrow. Biden officials think it will help lower gas prices and will send a message to Saudi Arabia and OPEC. We're just going to drop this onto the stack for tomorrow. From President Trump. We were energy independent a year ago. Now we're at the mercy of OPEC. Gasoline is selling for $7 a gallon. That's a bad deal. That is the worst deal, okay? And I know something about deals. Going up all over the country, and they're taking oil from our strategic reserves. Is this any way to run a country? The energy crisis of the 70s was caused by an OPEC embargo and production cuts. It took over a decade to recover and inflation was rampant. Today's energy crisis being caused by a misguided and naive push for renewables. Another decade in the hole to come. Which, there we go. For no reason other than to please the far left and fire groups, Biden ended pipelines like Keystone, halted oil and gas leases for months, greenlit Russia's Nord Stream 2 pipeline, went to OPEC instead of domestic producers, and are proposing new energy taxes in Build Back Better. So, yes, they're trying to get these other countries in to tell OPEC to drop their prices. Well, I hope you like $10 a gallon gas, because this didn't end well the last time. Today is Doctor Who Day. That'll be the next one. Happy birthday to Who, and the first ever episode of Doctor Who was aired on this day, 23rd of November 1963. I've never seen Doctor Who, but I've always been curious. I like the concept. I've just never seen it. I really do like the concept. I know the ex-girlfriend I mentioned just a bit ago was very, very big into Doctor Who, but we never got to watch together because she was so far ahead of where I would have been. But I'm interested in the concept. I'd actually like to sit down and see what it's all about, what the hype is all about. I've seen a couple episodes, but social media says happy birthday to Doctor Who, the worldwide cultural phenomenon. The youngest Doctor ever, with the longest serving Doctor in the scene. They stole the show from the Day of the Doctor. Happy Doctor Who Day, Eve, and a marvelous Matt Monday, everybody. It's almost time. Well, I guess we'll see what happens with that. Which one? It was not Matt. It was the one before him. That was the villain in Jessica Jones on Netflix. And he did a stellar performance. His performance in Jessica Jones actually makes me want to see Doctor Who even more, just because, just the amazing performance. And it wasn't overacted. It seemed overacted almost, but it fit the character so stellarly. So I guess that may be something that I may be doing somewhere in the near future. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last trend we'll do today is things you should never do. Allow anyone to make you feel less than because of your physical appearance. Jump blindly, things you should never do. We're saving that one. I know somebody who would appreciate that one. That was funny. I like that. Bring a loaded semi-automatic weapon to a crowded protest 20 miles from your house because people might somehow get the idea that you're there to kill people when all you want to do was clean up graffiti. Things you should never do. Grow up. Things you should never do. Give up. I'm never going to give you up. I'm never going to let you down. I'm never going to run around or hurt you. I like that too. That's great. That's another one we're going to save. That one's going to the gift folder. All right, that's all we're going to do. And we're going to head out of here for the day. Because I got to go to work. For the last couple times before we go over for Thanksgiving. They're going to give me a turkey today. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with it, because my sister already has the turkey that they're going to be using, but They're giving me a free turkey. That's it. That's the tweet. So, thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat. Thanks everybody who came by, the lurkers, the listeners, the people who stayed there. Looks like we hit 10 for a little while over there, but of course it stayed at 10 because we must have dropped off of there. But that's what we see coming off of this. I do hope that even with the high OPEC prices, you get to travel a little bit for this holiday. Get to go see people who care about you a lot. I'm very hopeful for that. I hope you guys get to do that. And we'll be back here tomorrow with more contemporary. So come back and join us for that. It's going to be a great time. It's always a great time, and we will see you then. Until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.